Hello, happy Monday. I'm just getting some vitamin D here. I've got a little stand-up desk in my room that I like to use as I'm working. Um, it's starting to be a little overcast here. Not a big fan of what the reasoning is behind that. When I walked into the gym today, it was pretty sunny, and then I came out of the gym, and there were some interesting shapes being formed in the sky by some airplanes that are doing some things that are not cool. I mean, literally like X's in the sky that were staying for a long time. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So that's why we gotta. I'm coming on here partly because I want to do a follow-up to my post that is being hidden. So if you guys know me, and maybe you don't know me, I love all things supernatural. Now, I can go on a whole trail with that when it comes to the supernatural, when it comes to God, when it comes to wellness, supernatural. Some of you may not fully understand what I'm talking about with that, but I feel like this is perfect shirt for today. Get used to different, because I do want to share a little bit of my journey with the supernatural when it comes to being well. So, gosh, let's go back 18 years. And I had my first son. Can't believe he'll be 19 this summer. It's crazy. But I had 2 miscarriages prior to having him, and I was told I couldn't have children. Well, I have 2 boys. So let's just take that as food for thought, that doctors don't have the final say. God does, but here's what I want to say about that. So after I had Cameron, I ended up having some really crazy just symptoms after having him. And I had 2 miscarriages back to back. So I was pregnant 3 times in a very short period of time. And I ended up going to, my mom actually had suggested to me, she's like, maybe you need to go to see a psychologist. And I was like, okay, because I wasn't sleeping. I was really depressed. I was crying all the time. I just felt really helpless. And they ended up, thankfully, now mind you, they put me on pharmaceuticals right away because they immediately said, you're depressed and you have anxiety. Because that's typically what happens. If you go to the doctor and you give them certain symptoms, they will put you on medication for whatever it is that you say. That's typically what happens. If you don't have a doctor that does that, that's very, very rare. So thankfully, after I think maybe my first or second visit, they said, hey, have you ever had your thyroid checked? And I was like, even at that point, you know, it was like 18 years ago, I was like, I don't know, like, basically, what is a thyroid? It was kind of the question I was asking. And I ended up going to get my labs done. And my labs were so off the charts, like, horrible. So, rather than this first diagnosis of depression and anxiety, I actually had, like, really horrible hypothyroid. So again, they put me on medication because that's what typical Western medicine doctors do. It helped a little bit, but there were still other things that started. It became kind of a domino effect of other symptoms. So, you know, I'm dealing with that. I wasn't sleeping. I was gaining weight. My hair, you know, there was all these symptoms that were going on. But because at that time, I just trusted the regular doctors because I was like, well, they went to school. They know more than I do. I just trusted that they knew what they were talking about. And I wanted to be a mama who could, because at that time I was working full time. I had just had a child who was sick all the time. And we won't even get into that part with Cameron and the things I dealt with him and the medical system. I mean, it was horrible. I am facing the sun because it's going to be sunny for just a little bit longer because of these clouds that the airplanes put in the sky today. I have pictures. I'm like, this is not natural. I don't know if that happens where you live too, but I'm like, this has got to stop in Jesus' name. Anyways, so I started doing some research, and it's become this really cool full circle thing because I ended up finding a gal. Yeah, I don't have a ring light. I'm super fancy over here, but I do like how it makes my eyes kind of match this shirt. I mean, we're looking pretty. I just got done with a workout, so I'm looking pretty fancy over here because Kristen doesn't really care what anybody thinks. Anyways, so yeah, kind of went full circle. I ended up finding a local functional medicine health coach who I just started following her page. I started following her blogs. I got on her newsletter, and this is like 17 years ago. And her name is Jill Grunwald. If you're listening, I love you, girl. So, all that to say, probably, I think it was back in 2018, I started going deeper and deeper. Well, let's kick it back a little bit. I think it was probably back in, well, I got diagnosed with hypothyroid and then Hashimoto's a little bit later when they finally did an ultrasound. Because I was just like, there's something still not right here. Did anybody do any digging to go root cause? No, none of them. And then I started realizing, oh my gosh, there are actually more markers that they are not testing me for. So that's how I ended up getting diagnosed with Hashimoto's, was because they weren't even testing for the antibody, or there were certain markers that I ended up finding out through Jill's website. And I had to hand it to the doctor and be like, hey, I would like you to test for these things. Well, then, of course, if I'm remembering correctly, insurance ended up charging me more because, it's not within their protocol to go beyond the, protocol. So, all that to say, they've still got me on all this medication. I'm still not feeling the best. There's nobody doing root cause. Well, then I start going on my own little journey because I am a researcher and I just love learning. I love getting knowledge, and the Lord just kept pinpointing there's something beyond here. And so through Jill and, reading a lot of things that she was putting out there, I ended up finding out, like, there are foods that if you have thyroid, Hashimoto's, if you have more of the autoimmune aspect, that there are certain foods that can really cause problems. So I started going down the journey of like doing gluten-free, and this is a whole other story, but I had stomach problems as well at the same time. So of course, doctors put you on medication. I was put on medication for irritable bowel syndrome because every day I looked pregnant by the end of the day, and I was so uncomfortable. So again, this is as a new mama, and then I got pregnant again, and I won't get into all of the details. But I started doing my own research, like I said, and thankfully, there was like this fork in the road, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to do this gluten-free thing. Even though I'd been put on a medication for IBS, wasn't working. And I'm like, why aren't these doctors going deeper? That's what I started asking to myself. I'm like, what is this? Like, seriously. And it started to piss me off. Honestly, I'm just being real. So I decided, let's just see what happens if I go gluten-free. Well, within 3 days, my stomach stopped having problems. I got myself off the stupid IBS medication, and I've been gluten-free for, I don't know, it's been a long time. And I am believing that I will be able to eat, real food at some point. But part of the problem is that our food has been so manipulated, like so many other things out there, that our body really can't tolerate a lot of the foods that have been Frankensteined. Like my body is very sensitive to foreign objects, let's just say. So if there's something coming into my body that is not well made, it will tell me. And I've become very attuned to my body in the ways that it is very sensitive to things. So same thing with dairy. Like I can have goat cheese. I can have certain, like if it was raw, I haven't had raw milk before. I'm not really interested in raw milk, but I'm sure like if I found a cow that was taken good care of, that maybe I could have some dairy, but I just haven't gone there yet. So all this to say, my post that I did earlier today is getting shadow banned, and I'm not surprised. I mean, if you guys know me, since 2020, I've been really trying to help wake people up to especially what was going on back then, and not getting yourself injected with what the government's trying to inject you with. I mean, that was such a manipulative, horrible time, and I was like trying to ring the alarms, and you know, just like many others out there, but getting shadow banned, kicked off social media. Like there was so much that was hidden, and like part of me was like, why aren't people seeing this? Like I don't get it. But all that to say, on the other side of that, you know, there are options out there to help you to detox. There are options to help you stay ahead of this. Like I said in my post, there are way too many people getting sick right now. I mean, I'm hearing people like, I'm getting this again, and I'm getting this again, and I'm getting sick, and I'm down. And I'm like, why is everybody down? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Even partly, I would say today, I'm guessing that there's a lot of people around here that are going to start having some respiratory problems based on what is being sprayed in the sky. I mean, you can see it. There is literally X's being put in the sky, which is not normal. If you remember Bob, the painter back in the day, his clouds were like fluffy. They weren't lines and like grids put in the sky. So you do need to take care of yourself. And I'm going to just mention to you to question what doctors tell you to do. I am. Unless you've got a doctor, like a doctor's office like mine, that is really about medical freedom and giving alternatives, and maybe you go in and you're like, yes, I have a stomach ache and there's a problem here. Find somewhere that is going to say, well, let's try something natural first. Let's try that first. And if that doesn't work, then we might need to try a prescription. But the problem is if you have a doctor's office that is first going to prescription and not asking you about anything else, not trying to go root cause, that's a problem. It's a problem. Slapping medications on things. If you go read the inserts and medications, if you've ever done that, if you listen to commercials, there's like, if you take this, you may die. Or, you know, I'm totally being dramatic, but I mean, seriously, if you're not reading the inserts of what you're putting in your body, there's a problem. So I think today I'm just trying to wake somebody up. Every time I come on here, I'm like, I do this for the one. So if you're one who needed to hear this today, you're welcome. Like I said, I do have some things in my toolbox that have kept me from coming under the weather, literally, both what's in the sky and, you know, whatever is being put out there, whatever you guys are experiencing over and over and over again. Like, people keep getting sick, and I'm just like, what if you could deal with, or you could just be like, no, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not gonna do that. What if you could have some things that, like, the moment you start feeling horrible, there's some things that you can take that are natural that kick it right out of your body. Or how about better? What if you had something that would just prevent it? What if you had something that could help you detox all the crap that has been put in your body over all the years? There are solutions. There are things to support your body. So I'm very passionate about it. We've been sold a lie for way too long. I'm probably going to get even more shadow banned by talking about this, but that's okay because somebody needed to hear this today. So get used to different, come above the snake line, get above the weather. You don't need to be under the weather all the time. Truly, you really don't need to. I'm just saying, you can be well, you can be whole. It doesn't have to be that way. So I'm very passionate about getting to the root, first of all, and then not only getting to the root, but using things that help support the roots, that help support your body, that help support you to be well and whole so that you can walk out your purpose with energy and life because people are waiting for you. And if you're sick all the time, I mean, the enemy is a punk, first of all, but I mean, it's a tactic to keep people from moving forward. I mean, when I was sick back in 2022, like, I didn't want to do things. I needed to rest. We all need to rest, right? But when people are sick all the time, or if you have no energy and you're not sleeping and you're just like, there's things that are keeping you from being well, you're not going to be able to fully like soar. I like to say soar in your calling and roar with your voice if you're sick all the time. So get above the weather. Don't be under the weather. If you want some information about what I'm talking about, I have so many resources that I've collected over the years. And yeah, just pray for me as I continue to try to wake people up. I was actually walking out of the gym today and I said to a girl, I'm like, wow, these clouds, quote unquote clouds. And she's like, oh my gosh, I never even realized. So I like to wake people up. It's hard, but anyways, all right. Well, you guys have a blessed day. I got to get on a coaching call in a second. Okay, bye.